Hello, everybody. This is JoAnna Sacco, Mindset Mentor, and tonight we are going to talk about guilt. So if you saw my video from earlier, it was just a 4-minute snippet, and tonight we're going to really dive into it a little bit more. So I'm just going to take a second to invite some people on, get some conversations going. Hopefully, if you guys pop in, feel free to share this or invite people who are in this group into the video, and we can get some stuff going. And if you are just watching the replay, you can feel free to just skip ahead a minute or two while I take some time to invite people to pop on. All right, let's see who's around. If you are joining us for the replay, just do #replay. And if you are coming in now, say hello, tell me where you're from. All right. Okay, I invited a bunch of people. Again, just say hi if you're coming in. Hey, Janet, how are you? All right, so I have a poll going. You guys know that I love my interactive posts by now, right? I have all these different polls that I like to post to you guys. So I'm going to publish a poll. Feel free to go ahead and answer the question if you want to. Hey, girl, hey, how is it in Illinois? Hi, Lynn. All right, so guilt. This is such an interesting topic, and it was actually inspired by myself. I've been having some guilty feelings lately, and it's just such a debilitating state to get into when you start feeling guilty. So I was just thinking about it this morning because I was thinking about all the things that I didn't do. So for those of you who don't know me, I have 4 small kids. I have a very successful network marketing business. I have this coaching business. I'm a wife. I'm part of a BNI group. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I do. And this week, like, I just looking around my house and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't get my clothes switched over yet from summer to winter. Like, the house is a mess. I didn't do the laundry. Like, there's stuff everywhere, and just feeling really down about all the things that I didn't do. And what I didn't realize at the time when I got into this cycle of the guilt was that we literally just put our dog down on Monday, like last week. And it was such a hard time for us. We were all grieving. I mean, just a mess. Like 4 small kids, all lost their best friend. Like, my husband and I were heartbroken. It was just such a sad time for us. And here I am feeling guilty that my house isn't looking like a Pinterest, a Pinterest pin or an Instagram photo or whatever. It's just ridiculous, right? But how does this relate to our business? So a lot of times we look at our business and we look at other people and we compare ourselves, and we feel guilty that we are not where other people are, right? And we always talk about this: comparison is the thief of joy. But a lot of that comparison really goes even deeper into the fact that where does that comparison come from? Us feeling guilt and us feeling shame. And where does that guilt and shame even come from, right? So let's dive into some of that stuff tonight. Janet says, it's so hard. I hate to answer because I've changed my mindset and I don't feel guilty much, but I don't have small kids anymore. We are empty nesters just a few months ago, and it's a much easier house to manage time-wise. My guilt is sometimes missing out on hubby and family time. Yeah, so everybody's going to have their own things that they feel guilty about. It's not going to be the same, you know. I'm sure that as an empty nester, your things that you feel guilty about are a lot different than what I feel guilty about. But where do all these things come from? So as you guys know, I love psychology. I have my degree in it. Have you guys ever heard of Freud or Erik Erikson? Love that stuff. I love looking at all these different theories about guilt and, you know, where they come from. So some of them, for example, teach, like, the psychodynamic view of guilt talks a lot about like when you were a kid, right? When did guilt first start developing? So maybe when you were 3 and you were playing with a toy and you broke something, or you wanted to do something and it was bad and you got admonished for it and you got punished, and now you felt this shame and this like this inner, this guilt set in and the shame set in. And that started like this whole unhealthy cycle deep into your adulthood. So what I always tell people when I work with them is start thinking about when you can first identify the self-limiting beliefs and the negative thoughts, because guilt is a negative emotion. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we should not experience guilt. Yes, if you did something, you know, immoral, unethical, like against your belief system, you know, lying, cheating, stealing, hurting people, whatever, like you should absolutely 100% feel guilt. Guilt definitely has its place, and people who don't feel guilt when they should, that's like, you know, a problem in itself. But we're talking about unwarranted guilt, like the guilt that I just, you know, talked about this morning with me feeling guilty that my house wasn't perfect when we just put our dog down and I took time for myself to heal and to just do more self-care than usual. So like that kind of a guilt, and where does that come from? So that's the psychodynamic kind of approach. And then the cognitive explanation, which I love because I'm a huge believer in cognitive behavioral therapy, is your cognitions, your thoughts control the way that you feel, and the way you feel controls the way you act. So by changing your thoughts, changing your cognitions, you're going to change the way you feel, and it's going to affect your state of mind. So let me give you some explanations about this, or some examples rather. So, oh, hey everybody, I'm just reading some comments. When we compare ourselves, we are comparing our insides to someone else's outsides. Yes, that is so true. Hey Laura, hey Tammy. Okay, so let's just do some examples of that. So it's raining outside, right? And you were going to go to a class, right? You were going to go to a class, or, you know, a business meeting, and it's raining outside, and you're just like thinking, ugh, it's raining outside. No one's going to come to my class now because it's raining and there's a storm, and this is just going to suck, and only one person's going to show up, and it's going to be boring, and no one's going to want to come to any of my classes again. And how does that make you feel? Pretty crappy, right? You're not feeling so hot if that's what you're thinking, if that's what your cognitions are. So now you're feeling crappy. So what are you going to do? You're going to probably cancel or not go. Or if you do go, you're not going to show up as best as you can with that kind of a mindset and the way you're feeling. So you don't go. And now you have no idea what you missed out on. Your next builder, your next business partner could have been at that meeting waiting for you. But because you let your cognitions control the way you feel, and then you acted on the way you felt, you completely like just cut off that possibility that that next person could have been there. So hello, hi everybody. So that is so important to just be aware of making that connection of how you think about yourself controls how you feel, and then your feelings, how those control your actions. So going back to guilt, now let's think about business things. Maybe you have thoughts about your business, of things that you wish you had done. So there's different reasons that people feel guilty. They feel guilty about things they did. They feel guilty about things they didn't do. They feel guilty about things they wish they had done and didn't do. So there's all these different kinds of levels of guilt, I guess. But like, let's just say that you have not done a good job of, I don't know, calling people or following up or getting information to people when they asked for it, or, you know, setting goals and then keeping on top of your goals, or following through with the things that you said you were going to do for your business, right? So now your cognitions are, what could you be thinking about that? I'm a crappy business person. I'm never going to be successful. I can't do this. I can't do that. People don't want to talk to me anyway because now it's been too long and I haven't followed up with them. It's going to be awkward if I talk to them. They're going to think that I'm a fraud. I mean, the list goes on and on and on about all the different negative thoughts that we could have about this scenario, right? And then when you think those things, you feel really, really bad, right? You feel guilty. You might feel shame, because you know what? Guilt and shame, they love to hang out. They love to hang out. Like, they're like best friends, guilt and shame. Not a good combo. Stay away from them. They're like the bad kids in school. You don't want to be around them. So anyway, when you start feeling like that because of the things that you're telling yourself, what are you going to do? You're not going to follow up. You're not going to pick up the phone or, you know, your text or Facebook Messenger and reach out to that person. You are going to start believing all of those cognitions and those feelings that you have, because so much of the time we believe our feelings, right? And sometimes you just really shouldn't, like in these scenarios. So you've got to break that cycle. And you have to be aware that this is how it's affecting you. And you have to, it's like a domino effect. You have to be cognizant of the fact that when you start letting those thoughts and those patterns go and loop and ruminate, like when you're sitting there ruminating about your guilty feelings, about your shame, about the things you didn't do, the things you could have done better, and you're sitting there on that loop, you're just getting further and further down into this deep, dark hole that's not where you want to be, because you're never going to climb out of it if you keep going down that path. And so if you did something, you know, that maybe you shouldn't, and you have a feeling of guilt, okay, that's okay. That's a normal thing. Like, I'm not saying all guilt is bad, again, just to reiterate that, but you have to move on. You have to let it go. You have to make amends. You have to do whatever you need to do to move on. So like, let's say you didn't follow up with somebody when you said you would. So, you know, call them up and just tell them, be like, I'm really sorry. Like, I, you know, haven't followed up with you. Don't make excuses. Don't whatever. Just apologize from a genuine place and say, I really would love to, you know, still work with you and help you and start where we left off. Like, how can I help you? And move on, and just move on. Like, make the amends, forgive yourself. Like, this is a huge, huge part, is forgiveness. You need to be able to forgive yourself before you can move on. Melissa says, self-doubt is a killer. Janet says, because of you, I'm starting to do so much better with not letting the negative self-talk, and I won't be able to do this, or I did this wrong. I'm breaking that cycle, not talking inside of my own head to myself. I know, I'm so proud of you, Janet. It's awesome. It's so awesome seeing, you know, how just rewiring that brain and like just stopping that negative self-talk when it starts can really make a huge difference. So where was I? So we were talking about the guilt and the thoughts, and how you just start going down that path, and how you need to make amends, and then just start fresh. Tell yourself a different story. Allow your brain to believe a new story and believe those thoughts, because those thoughts are going to start uplifting you. So tell yourself, like, yes, I didn't do as good of a job with my follow-up. I didn't do as good of a job with, you know, with following through with what I said I was going to do. I didn't hold as many classes or parties or whatever, or go live as often as I wanted to. But that's okay, because I'm going to forgive myself and I'm going to move on. And the new me is going to follow through. The new me is going to stick to her goals or to his goals. The new me is whatever it is that you want to be, however you want to see yourself. And guess what? Just by saying those things and by standing different, even your posture gets different when you have that confidence and when you start telling yourself that positive story, and you automatically feel lighter. So those of us who are oil users, it's like sniffing like lemon or citrus oil, right? Like, use your lemon or citrus oils and tell yourself this new story. Tell yourself these new cognitions and these new thoughts, and pair it with something that's going to make you feel better. Because then when you feel better, because you're not telling yourself these horrible negative, you know, things, and you're not letting yourself be drowning in guilt and burden, now your actions are going to be different. So this is how this whole pattern works. This is why I love understanding the psychology of it all, and understanding, you know, again, that CBT, cognitions, behavioral, cognitive behavioral therapy. So it's your thoughts affect your feelings, which affect your behavior. So really, it's a muscle too. It's like your brain, I like to think of it, your mindset, I like to think of it as a muscle, because you have to work it, right? You have to like work your mindset muscle because it doesn't just come easily. Most of us, it's years and years of habits that we have formed, and feelings that we've had, like we just talked about, you know, where does guilt and shame start? For so many of us, it starts in childhood, in the way we were raised, even in schools, you know. I see it in my own kids, even like when one of my kids was having some trouble in school and he was being sent out of the classroom because he was disrupting other kids, and the shame and the guilt was like killing him. Like it was like horrible to him. Like he would come home crying to me and he was like so upset. Like, guess what? He's probably going to have problems with guilt and shame now, that those patterns are going to have to be broken over time, because those are so deep seated in his emotional core as a small child. Like kids are very much like living in that emotional center. And so think about for yourself, like if you are one of the people who's saying yes, you often feel guilty, where did those feelings originate from? Where did they start? Can you pinpoint maybe a situation like I just did with my son, or something else? When did it originate? Where did it start? Or was it just something that was always kind of like a thing in your life and you can't really pinpoint a time? That's okay. But go back to that time and forgive yourself. Allow yourself to feel forgiveness. Allow yourself to let go of that guilt, of that shame, and move forward and become the person who you want to be. And tell yourself that story day in and day out. It's a muscle. It's like if you want to have muscles, if you want to lose weight, if you want to get stronger, faster, whatever, every day you have to do it. You can't just do it once and then go back to your old patterns. You're not going to get results, right? I'm learning this the hard way at the gym now. Like, I'm not going to get results if I just go once and then stop. You have to do it all the time. Same thing with your mindset. So this is why I just wanted to talk about this in our business, because I feel like it can really be paralyzing to us. And paralysis is like the killer of businesses, because especially in network marketing, the only way you can really fail is if you stop and if you quit. And so if shame and guilt are an overarching kind of theme in your entire life, they're sure 100% going to play a part in your business. So it's something that needs to be kind of worked through, acknowledged, given the space that it needs, and analyzed, and then just working on letting it go. So another thing about guilt, so this is an interesting topic that I wanted to talk about, was guilt that you feel for doing better than someone else. Okay, so this is a little bit different than what we've been talking about, but a lot of people have a fear of success. So we talk about this. A lot of people have fear of failure, but more people, I think, actually have fear of success. And the reason why they have fear of success is because they feel guilty about the people that they kind of leave behind. So if you are stuck living in a life where you are surrounded by negativity, by poverty mindset, by different financial I don't know what to call them, like financial things that hold you back, people who may not have a good relationship with finances or haven't broken through those barriers yet. Now, if you become successful, what does that mean for you? What does that mean for your circle? What does that mean for your family? What does that mean for everybody else? And you may feel guilty about the fact that you are now, a diamond with your company making six figures while your best friend is still struggling, or your parents are still struggling, or whoever is still struggling. So a lot of times that is a subconscious thing that holds people back, is the guilt surrounding what will happen if they become successful, if they no longer have those hardships, those failures, all those different thoughts and patterns and lifestyles that they used to have. So that's another thing to definitely think about when you are thinking about your business, and if that plays into it, if you do have fear of success and the guilt that you might feel if you do leave people, behind, so to speak, even though we're not really leaving them behind, because we can, help a lot of people, but that's a whole other topic. We'll talk about that another time. So does anybody have any questions before I jump off? I know this was a heavy, kind of loaded, tough topic to talk about because it does really dive into some of our past, our past belief systems, our past self-limiting beliefs. And it's hard for us to face these things. And as you know, as a mindset mentor, like this is my job, is to kind of dive deep into this stuff with you guys and help you to figure out and identify in your life where these kind of blocks are originating from, and then how to stop them, and then how to change them, so you can rewire your brain for success, how you can have the life you want to have, how you can reach your goals, achieve success, and just be happy and awesome and help everybody else, be happy and awesome and change the world that way, one person at a time, right? Okay, well, thank you so much for being on. If you like this video and if you're enjoying this group, please invite your friends, your team people, your team members, anybody else into this group. The more the merrier. And there will be a giveaway on Wednesday of a free 45-minute mentor session with me for the people who add people and tag them on that post. And every person you add, you get an extra raffle entry into the giveaway, into the raffle. So thank you again. I appreciate you all so much for being here with me. And this will be put up on the YouTube channel. So there's a YouTube channel, JoAnna Sacco on YouTube, and you can rewatch all these videos on there as well. Thank you so much.